Welcome back to Maximum News, ladies and gentlemen. I hope all of you had a lovely holiday season. There isn't much news that happens around this time of the year for obvious reasons, but Syb and I decided that we wanted to do some sort of show anyways to cap off the year, and we figured we'd follow in the same, trajectory that all the other people online are doing with their, end of the year stuff. So here's what we're gonna do. We both have our respective top 10 lists. Just like Syb and I were just talking about this before we started the show. There's a whole lot of stuff coming out this year. The rest of the world is sort of coming back from the effects of the pandemic. Proper production is hopefully going to start up and get back to some degree of normalcy, and we're definitely seeing this with all the great games that are releasing next year. But choosing, which to put on the top 10 and how to order them was particularly difficult. But we figured it out. So here's how it's going to work, okay? I am going to read my bottom 5, and then Syb is going to read his bottom 5, and then we'll do top 5 and top 5 after that. Just in sort of celebration for the year to come. Now, Syb, I hope it's okay if I just go over some honorable mentions real quick. First I'll also mention that there are games that some people are expecting to come out in 2023. Some of them I think are reasonably expected, some of them aren't. But these are games that I haven't put on my list for that reason. It's because we don't know for sure. So if you're expecting Lies of P, Death Stranding 2, Silent Hill 2 Remake, Armored Core 6, Black Myth Wukong, or Nightingale to be on my list, they're not, because we just don't know when they're coming out, even though I am very much anticipating every single one of those. Now, with that out of the way, I'll just give 3 honorable mentions. One is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I only played the first few hours of Jedi Fallen Order back when it came out 2 or 3 years ago, and it's one hell of a game. It's a wonderful game, and I wish I had more time to play it. And because I had such a positive experience with those first few hours, I gotta say that, if I do ever happen to get around to playing or completing the first Jedi Fallen Order, I really do want to check out Jedi Survivor. It's a really special single-player game that came out over the past few years. Wonderful Souls-like. And for that reason, I'm very much hoping to play it one day. Dead Space Remake comes out next month. I love Dead Space 1 and 2 just like everybody else does. And after Callisto Protocol came out, even though I had some fun with Callisto Protocol, I think I appreciated the combat more than most people did. But it wasn't the sort of spiritual successor to Dead Space that everybody was expecting. So hopefully Dead Space Remake is going to fill that void in our hearts. And so far it's looking like it's going to do that. And then finally, Scars Above. This is a really interesting sci-fi horror type game, which you can actually play a beta demo for it right now. And people, for the most part, are reacting positively to it. There's some, genuine constructive criticism, like people are complaining about the animations and stuff like that. But that can all be improved upon before the actual release. Ultimately, the stuff that is there looks really, really good and really unique and really special. And for all those reasons, plus the fact that it looks like they have a pretty interesting story there, makes it ripe for me. Now, Syb, before we go into the actual top 10 list, did you have any honorable mentions that you wanted to give a shout out to?
Yeah. So there's a few honorable mentions I want to throw out that, like you said, we don't know everything on my list. It really is more or less basically confirmed for 2023. So some of them may be delayed, but those aren't the ones that are being, planned to be delayed. So the ones that we have no idea about, other than just a very, very broad thing, and we've heard no news up until now, which is not a good sign for it releasing anytime this year, this coming year, is going to be Project Haven, which is a really cool turn-based tactical shooter. I do love those, the very XCOM / Jagged Alliance-y type games. I'm always a sucker for them. I got a lot of them on the list. I really enjoy these because it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for somebody who does a lot of things on the side and it is easily distracted. And when I have a turn-based game, I can tab out, I can do a bunch of stuff, I can tab right back in, and it's right there. Yeah. So I really do love these games. So Project Haven's one of them. Jagged Alliance 3, speaking of Jagged Alliance, Jagged Alliance 3, hopefully coming out this year, but I think I would be okay with it not coming out until 2024, just to give them a little bit of extra time. And then also just this coming year is so packed. 2023 is so packed with so many games, and there's so much stuff going on that I can't keep my head wrapped around it. Yeah. Falling Frontier.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's intimidating. Like,
right,
one of the games we were just talking about that's inevitably going to be on both of our lists. We were just talking about whether or not we can incorporate into the stuff that we can do on both of our channels, because otherwise our channels are kind of screwed because we're just planning on playing so much of it. And then add on top of the fact that there's all these other wonderful games that we want to spend time with. It's going to be tricky to navigate, but yeah. Anyways, continue. What were you about to say?
So Falling Frontier is another one. It's a really, really cool space game that just really feels like that Expanse vibe. There's a couple of those types of games coming out.
Isn't Falling Frontier kind of like EVE Online?
A little bit, but different. Like, and again, I don't know. I haven't gotten too much into it, but the look and the overall feel of it just it feels really tight. It feels really good, and it's very, very interesting to take a look at.
Hey, if it's less sweaty than EVE Online, I'll be happy to check it out.
Yeah. Another old favorite, Spellforce, has a new game / expansion coming. I believe it's standalone. And then we've got some games that I can't mention here. And then Darkest Dungeon 2. Darkest Dungeon 2 is supposedly coming out in Q2 2023. And it's one of these weird things where I think there's like an early access beta version of it on the Epic Game Store. So because of that weirdness, not really going to mention it directly here, but interesting, good concept.
Was Darkest Dungeon, that was the one that everybody's like, this game's really hard.
Dark. So not to be confused with Dark and Darker Dungeon, which is a multiplayer. It plays like the Fortnite / PUBG thing, where it's like you have this gigantic map dungeon, and it's really dark, and your first room can be filled with so much like overpowered enemies that you and your entire group of 4 players just get immediately, murdered. That's a thing, and that's just kind of come out very early access right now. But Darkest Dungeon is the 4 character, not player, but 4 character game where you go into a dungeon, and it's like really gritty, and it's really, really, really difficult. Like, I had people like I ran out of friends' names to use for my soldiers in the first like 5 hours of playing. Everybody just constantly died nonstop. So yeah, don't name your friends after your characters. But Darkest Dungeon 2 is going to be a little bit different. You're not going to have an army of units to go through. Instead, each of the units is an actual character, and they're actually expanding on that front. So your characters don't just die like, disposable wipes, but at a kid's summer camp, but are actually just like, they're actually more unique. So that's very interesting. Again, I don't like, it's kind of weird being that it's got some kind of an early access thingy limited on Epic, but they're working on it. So hopefully it comes out this year. It's one that means a lot to a lot of people. So.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's it for most of the stuff that again, I could go on and on for hours about interesting things that I'm excited for, but I think we'll just leave that at that for the special.
I really need to play more RTS games like the ones that you mentioned. Thankfully, I've been kind of getting into that. Like, I've recently finished Planescape Torment, even though that's not technically real-time strategy. It is the over-the-top point-and-click sort of thing. And I really enjoyed it. So, I don't know, maybe Baldur's Gate 3 will be my in for that. But we'll save the discussion for that for a little bit later, I'm sure. All right, so I'll start with my bottom 5, I suppose. So, before I just get to that very quickly, I said decide before we started, what we'll do is if there is a game on my bottom 5 that is in Syb's top 5, He's going to interrupt me, and we're going to save the discussion for that game when we get to his top 5. And then it's also the same in reverse. So if there's a game that's in Syb's bottom 5 that's in my top 5, we'll save the discussion for that as well. All right. So with that out of the way, let's get to our top 10 list. So my number 10, and this is going to make Syb laugh at first, but then I hope he'll understand when I sort of give my reasoning. My number 10 is The Day Before. Why? Because I am morbidly curious. I don't, like Syb, I don't expect this game to be good. But I want it to be good. It is the most wishlisted game on Steam for a reason. It's because what this game is promising is gold. And what they've shown to us, if it is representative of the final game, is gold. But we have very good reason to suspect that they're trying to sell us a lemon. I hope that's not the case. I hope that when the game supposedly comes out on March 1st, that it is a finished product and can really be sort of like the proper, finely polished DayZ type of experience. But I don't know. Hopefully it turns out that way. But if it doesn't, I look forward to seeing what the fallout is. I'll be like Michael Jackson in the popcorn eating meme, just watching everybody lose their mind online. But before we move on to my number 9, so I do just want to sort of expand upon why it is that people maybe shouldn't be looking forward to The Day Before as much as they are.
So it's an open world MMO survival game set in a deadly post-pandemic America.
Zombies.
Overrun with zombies.
Yeah.
I hate this trope so much in the sense of like it is overdone and it is never done correctly. Yeah. I would love to have a version of this game where it is literally the day before. Play sessions are broken up into like one per like kind of week thing, or maybe like, you know, the servers are constantly refreshing. So sort of like a Fortnite game. But instead of the Fortnite game just being, you know, to last, 100 people, last person wins, what I would like to see is the goal is for people to survive a week or two or a month or something like that. Maybe that's the length that the virus lasts for, right? And what happens is that you have to survive being a normal person on the first day. So if on the first day there is no virus, there's rumors of a virus, but there is no actual virus. If you crash into a gun shop, start looting it, cops are going to show up, arrest you, put you in jail, and that's where the virus hits. Mm-hmm. So you have to be really smart as a player, knowing that the world is about to go into insanity. You have to like start gathering your supplies and start making your preparations with only about 24 hours of like in-game time, which is probably pretty close to like real time. And then that's when the chaos hits, and then just have that experience over and over and over again, because it's just like, Fortnite, that whole, like, you rush in, you and your friends probably die really quickly the first time you try. You're like, well, we thought we could steal a bunch of stuff, but then the cops showed up and the SWAT team showed up and they killed us all. And then the 2 people that survived got eaten by zombies the next hour because it was starting to spread. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that.
There is precedence for a game like that mm-hmm. That would convince people that it would be well received. Pathologic 1 and 2 are sort of like prototypes for that. There are people who love those games. And for people that don't know what Pathologic is, it's sort of like, instead of zombies, it's a pandemic that descends upon this, what is it, a Russian town? I can't recall. Mm-hmm. And you have a day or two to sort of prepare yourself before everything happens, but then it takes place, if I recall correctly, over a 2-week period. The first 2 days are easy enough, but then the 12 consecutive days, it's like the hardest game you've ever played. And I say that technically, not exaggeratedly. Maybe a game like what you're describing could work. Maybe if it's a little bit easier and a little bit more flashy, mm-hmm. because Pathologic can get pretty sweaty. I'd be down for that. And hopefully the day before can provide us something close to that, because I would love that. But yeah, but as for why, people are sort of skeptical about this game, it is being made by a company that hasn't had the greatest success with its past works. If I recall correctly, there are some projects that got crowdfunded and got canceled. I might be wrong about that. Don't take my word for that. Yeah. Am I missing anything there, Syb?
Well, let's just put it like this. These are rumors, some more confirmed than others.
Yeah.
But the game developers were searching for part-time and full-time volunteers.
Oh, jeez.
That's right, volunteers to make the day before hit its release date without any problems.
Yeah, I wonder how that panned out.
Yeah, and I don't wanna crap on them too much, because we have seen projects like this. I gotta say, League of Legends started out as a basically a fan project that started out with a lot of volunteer people who quickly did get wrapped into full-time jobs. So it's not impossible. It's definitely difficult and problematic. But what you do and how you react to it, that kind of stuff, it's like, we'll see how it goes. I can say that my fear is that it's just going to become a kind of an abandonware kind of situation where they'll put it out, they'll try and get as many sales on day one, and then basically they've made their money and then they take off. So I would encourage people to wait on this, to kind of ease into it, and then remember that I don't think this is a AAA studio. This is a very small studio. So you treat it like any indie job where it's like, is this going to be worth my time and money? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And even if it isn't, there's still tons of other games to look forward to that you can spend your time on. Speaking of which, my number 9 is the System Shock 1 remake. Also, like the day before, coming out in March. And what you'll see with a lot of the games on my list and probably on Syb's list, a lot of these games are coming out within a month or two of each other. February and March. So the beginning of 2023 is looking pretty lit. System Shock remake, though. I recently played System Shock 2 for the first time, Syb. That game's old. Like 22, 23 years old. But goddamn, the formula of that game, the core formula is timeless. The horror, the combat, an immersive sim. I think that's the technical term for it. It all holds up. And given the people that they have working on the System Shock remake and the fact that it's taken so much time, I really do think that it's going to be, unlike the day before, it's actually going to be a genuine attempt. And hell, it can't be any worse than trying to play System Shock 1 nowadays. Like, have you tried... If you guys haven't looked at what System Shock 1 looks like right now, I think, even if System Shock Remake is like a 6 out of 10, it'll be a triumph. Let's just say that. Plus, I've recently been playing a lot of the games made by one Chris Avallone. I've come to the conclusion that the guy is probably the greatest Western writer for games. He's done games like Fallout New Vegas, Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2. He also did the Fallout New Vegas DLC. And in regards to this, apparently he's a writer for the System Shock. So at least it shows that they're trying to update the original story, and who better to do it than with him. So System Shock remake, Syb, any thoughts on that? I mean, you have to. I've heard you talk about it once or twice.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to be good. I'm hoping that they didn't hit a massive wall, which is a lot of the rumors that we did hear. I do chat with Chris every once in a while. Yeah, he's a good man who's got serious writing chops, and I look up to as a writer for sure.
Yeah, he's the man. And also Planescape Torment, which if you guys follow me on my YouTube channel, you should probably stay tuned for the next week, because I may or may not have a video on Planescape Torment coming out in the next week. All right, number 8. This one is likely going to be at the top of, like, number 1 on most people's lists, but it's at number 8 for me because I never played the original. It's The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It is at number 8 purely because the trailers for this game look amazing. I want to play it, but there's no way that I'm going to play it before I play Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild, you know, if you've been on the internet for any period of time, or if you played the game yourself, you know that aside from maybe Ocarina of Time, it is the greatest Legend of Zelda game ever made. It's apparently one of the greatest open world games ever made. And I love open world games, and everything I've ever heard about this game is amazing, but I just have never had the time to play it. Thankfully, though, my fiance has a Switch, and I'm going over to her place for a month next month. So who knows? Maybe I'll find some time to play it then, so I can play it in time for when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Not on your list, Syb?
Which game?
Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh yeah, that's on that. That's on that device. What did they call it? A Nintendo?
Yeah.
Nintendo. Oh, Nintendo. Right, Nintendo.
Oh, Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember that. You know, I wish I could give them money to play the game on any number of other devices that I have constantly, as the Nintendo devices don't really work for me in my particular situation. Oh, wait, that's right. They refuse constantly to do that. So yeah, pardon the joke. It's a little difficult and a little frustrating to try and
support this company.
Yeah, to try and support this company that just seem set on this idea of not interacting with tons of people who want to play their games.
Yeah.
And yes, I know, yeah, you could just go out and buy the thing, but that's the thing, is like I don't have a lot of Nintendo games that I play. This would be the only one that's on my radar for this year and like the previous year, and I'm going to assume the next year. I can't condone paying that much money to get a device to play one game.
Yeah. Especially when it's and like the quality of the console continues to go down with each passing year, while their competitors continue to bump up their the fidelity of the power of their consoles, whereas they're sort of still stuck in the dust. There's no Switch Pro yet, no 4K Switch. It's baffling to understand why they're making the decisions that they've made. But we've talked about that like ad nauseum on all the past shows, and it should be self-evident why Syb doesn't want to support them. And I'm inclined to as well. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is literally the only game I can imagine myself playing from Nintendo over the next little while. I'm not here to argue with the people that have a Switch. I'm glad you enjoy the games that you do. It's just, I think you understand, if you've listened to the show for any time, why it's not for us. But hopefully I will be able to play Breath of the Wild soon on my fiance's Switch, and then be able to play Tears of the Kingdom. So that way I don't have to spend money on my own Switch just to play that game. All right. Number 7. Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Syb, I played a lot of Neo 2 this year. One of the most fun games I've played in a long time, particularly because I also played it with my fiance. She's huge into Chinese, like Eastern mythology, and so much fun. It's a wonderful reinvention of the Souls-like formula, more skill-based, it's more like, you're participating in a dance. One of the things I really like about Neo 2 is that in order to boost up your stamina, you have to time the press of a button after you attack. I think it's the right bumper or the R1 button on the PlayStation controller to boost up your stamina. I love that. And apparently, that carries over to past games from Team Ninja, except for maybe Stranger of Paradise, which I hear is kind of crap. But Wolong, it appears to be Neo 3 in everything but name. It like taking place during the Three Kingdoms era. Same combat, and like Elden Ring, it's also adding a jump button. If it's more of Neo 2, that's enough for me to put it up on my top 10 list. Yeah. You ever play any of the Team Ninja games?
One of those games that did never work out timing wise.
Yeah.
But I do think they're really good, obviously.
Yeah.
And I wish I had more time to get into it.
They are big games. Like they are very time consuming. We never finished Neo 2. We got close, and it's looking like Wolong's gonna be that way too. And God, Rise of the Ronin, which is coming out in 2024 supposedly. That game looks legit, man. I cannot wait to play that. But yeah, for now, Wolong will be more than satisfactory. And then number 6, it's looking like the Russian BioShock, Atomic Heart. This game, it looks to fill that BioShock void that's been left in my heart ever since 2013 when BioShock Infinite came out. Granted, it is being made by a first-time studio, but God, just even if what they're selling to us in the trailers isn't representative of the final product, the stuff that they have shown us is pretty damn convincing that we're going to get something special. I love like the unique weapons that you can pick up, the fact that it's like semi-open world, kind of like what Halo Infinite is. That's what I've been hearing from people. I love the idea of sort of like the Halo Infinite semi-open world combining with the BioShock formula. They got their own version of the plasmids. The one thing that I do hope that also sort of carries over from the BioShock formula is the insightful political commentary, because we did really get that. No, I genuinely mean that, because with the first BioShock, one of the things that I think makes that game so special and so profound is the fact that it presents the positives and the negatives of various different sides of a political war. And it doesn't pass necessarily, it does pass some judgment, but the way that it presents it, it's not like trying to make you feel bad if you feel one way or the other. It's like, these are the things that could happen for better or for worse. And what do you do with that if you believe in this particular way of life? I hope that with Atomic Heart, that we get some sort of version of that as it pertains to its setting, because from what I understand, the game takes place in an alternate 1955 within the Soviet Empire. So it'll be like communism and why people support it, why people are against it. I hope we get some of that. So Atomic Heart, that's at my number 6. Not on your list, Syb?
It is not. It is close. It sits at about number 12.
Oh, sorry about that.
The cynic in me doesn't believe that this game is going to be good at all. Like, at all. I think it's going to be an absolute and total catastrophe right from the get-go. So, I'm trying not to let that cynical version of myself take over.
And Syb, you have some reason to believe that that's going to happen, because from what I understand, there has been some development issues from behind the scenes.
Extraordinarily rocky, to say the least. That is confirmed by basically everybody, including a lot of devs, and a lot of former devs have said a lot worse. So because of that, and then because if you go back, you watch the first 2 trailers that were out, those trailers don't have any, there's very little connection between what you saw in the initial trailers and the game. They were basically a vertical slice.
That is true.
Demo.
But, I will, Syb is right about that. I still, it's not as bothersome to me, because even though it's not the same as what we got with those initial trailers, what we have now still looks hella interesting. If it's true. And, to some people, I'm sure they're wondering, well, what you're saying right now about Atomic Heart, it still seems, it sounds a lot like what you're saying with The Day Before. The Day Before seems more like a grift. You have more reason to believe that game is going to turn out bad. Whereas with Atomic Heart, even though there have been a lot of problems behind the scenes, we have more reason to believe that this game, there is some genuine effort going into it. Right? It doesn't seem like a scam. You know what I'm trying to say, Syb? Yeah. So,
and that's where I am hoping that it's great, because when we first saw it, we were kind of excited for it. The concept looked great. We were, hopeful that we would get something. And honestly, games like Fallout need a competitor.
Yeah.
One, because it's just I would like to see more competition within those kinds of, like, it's really a genre that's by itself. This
Yeah.
like this post futurism, and in this like post apocalyptic world. It's like, I know that there are games like that. Wastelands is really good. A couple other games worth noting, but not as good as they should be from time to time. And we want something that makes sure that the people over at Bethesda get a kick in their backside and make sure that they know that there is somebody who is quickly capable of replacing them should they fail. I think every company needs to know this. Every single company that you utilize on a daily basis needs to know that they can be replaced if they slack off in their job. Everybody can forgive some minor slack here and there, but when you totally drop the ball or just start taking advantage of your customer base, this is the time where people can turn around and leave you high and dry. And I think that's totally okay.
Right.
In fact, I think that's preferable.
Yeah. More competition is always a good thing.
Yes.
If we had more competition, we'd likely be playing Elder Scrolls 6 by now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm being slightly facetious. Anyways, we'll get to my top 5 in just a moment, but now, of course, we must move on to Syb's bottom 5. So, Syb, kick it off for us, please.
So, at number 5.
You mean
I'm gonna
10.
I'm gonna start backwards than what you did. At my number 5.
No. You mean 6.
6?
Yeah, because it's a top 10 list. So if you're going from top to bottom, it'd be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
It's
yes.
okay. It's okay.
The bottom 5. So, yes, you're correct. The number 6. I apparently have forgotten how to do math. It's great. It's fine. Just need to reformat some memories. That's all. So, yes, in my number 6 position, Octopath Traveler 2.
Oh, good call. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm super excited about this game. It's looking, honestly, really, really cool. Octopath Traveler 1 won a lot of awards from not just the Game Awards, places that mattered a little bit more, I think. It's a great game, and it has solidly sold. I never played it from front to beginning, the original first one, but I did watch a ton of it on people streaming it. So it's one of those games that I just didn't have the time to really get into it, and it's like a 300+ hour game. So obviously, that's why.
Yeah.
But really excited for this one because I'm excited to see this kind of tech, continue to improve, grow, and I think that that top down, old fashioned, Zelda 1 and 3 type games, that basically most people know them as the JRPGs.
Yeah.
I like that. I really honestly do. I play a lot of games that are like that. There's a lot of games that they're my guilty pleasure, where I'll play through an indie game where it only takes like 6-7 hours to get through the whole thing. And I like it. I really do. And I really want to see this technology increase and improve. And I really think that Octopath Traveler does that in a phenomenal way, taking that old school graphics and then altering it in a way that it's completely different, because it is actually 3-dimensional, but the way that they project it and then the lighting and all that stuff. Oh,
yeah.
Just
I would give anything to play like a remake of Chrono Trigger with this type of graphics. That would be so freaking dope, yo.
Well, that's the thing, is like there's so many games from my childhood that could be remade in formats like this with a lot of, I think that's honestly something that the games industry has not been doing. Instead, we keep getting other stupid remakes where the remake is just, it's adding like 20% more graphical fidelity. Like, come on, like, why? So yeah, that. Speaking of another long RPG inspired game, my number 7th position is, and I'm going to try and make sure I say this properly, Outlier Ryza 3.
Okay.
Outlier is that it's this alchemist story about an alchemist girl who's just running her tiny little shop in her tiny little village, and she starts doing things with other village people, and then giant story, giant, cute, adorable / also awesome story. And this is the third one in the series that has come out and is absolutely fantastic, and it looks so adorable and so cool. This is a game that Mooney is going to love, and this is a game that I'm hoping manages to keep this thing growing and improving, and the graphics in this look way better. It's like Genshin level, but it doesn't have all those horrible microtransactions, and that's really why I want this game to go really good, because this is the this is the Genshin Impact, the Tower of Fantasy, the I forget the other ones that are coming out this year, but it's that cute, adorable, like kind of like wonderful little world of like awesomeness, but without all the microtransactions. And I think a game like this needs to win Game of the Year and crush all of the other games that are like, hey, yeah, you want to play as this cute character, or is this husbando or waifu or whatever? It's like it's going to cost you $350 on a standard series of polls to get this unlock this character. I think that stuff needs to die, and I think this is the kind of game that can really help that to happen. So, yeah.
This game looks a lot like...
Revenge of the purchasable games with just good unlockable story content. I really think this is good. Is
it kind of... I'm looking at just a little bit of the gameplay right now. I've never heard of it. Is it kind of like the Tales of series? Did you ever play any of those games?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very similar to that. It's this cute kind of like what's that game that everybody loves? Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kind of plays a little bit like Kingdom Hearts, like gameplay wise, not obviously Disney and that kind of garbage, but it just plays as an interactable story type game. Final Fantasy like thing.
Yeah, this game
back before they went live action-y kind of graphics, and if they had stayed in the more cartoony version of it, and the art in this game and the characters, like everything's just really cool, and it's a fun world to play in. Again, super long hours. I've never been able to like complete an entire game in like just one gameplay session.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games that I wish all the best to, because this is the kind of game that needs to replace the Genshin Impacts, the other microtransaction games that are really pushing in this direction, because I think that stuff isn't healthy overall. I think stuff like this is.
Lots of hours of gameplay for a single price, just you pay what you do at retail and that's it. Those types of games. All right, what's your number 8, I think?
So we got one that I'm sure is going to be full of microtransactions. I'm sure it's going to be garbage. This was kind of close to being like off the list, but it's interesting enough that I'll talk about it, not because mostly I want to see where this ends up. It looks really interesting, and I want to know more, and I want it to be good, and I want it to be cool. It is basically Castle Siege on crack.
Okay. What's it called?
So this is called Warlander. Uh-huh. It is a MMO, but it's not really. I don't think it doesn't play like an MMO. It's basically, as far as I can tell,
sorry to interrupt you, but I can pick up your mouse clicking.
Oh. Yeah. I don't have a solution for that. So basically, this is a battlefield in which two sides have two castles, and the castles go to war, and you are pushing objectives in the field. So this is basically COD, but with like medieval knights and siege equipment and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's magic in it. There's a lot of cool characters in it. I believe you create your own character, pick a class, then formulate that class, and then you can go nuts. That's what it looks like to me, and it looks really, really awesome. I'm sure this will just be absolutely terrible and will just fall apart like every other MMO does. But the idea of this game is something that I've been hoping for a long time that people can pull off right and pull off with awesomeness. So whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. But it's interesting enough that I want to cross my fingers and hope that it does well. The game is coming out on January 24th. So it literally has about 2 weeks to impress me enough before I end up swapping over to some other game. Namely, Hogwarts.
Yes, which we thankfully don't have to wait that long for. All right, number 9?
Number 9 is going to be the Jedi Survivor, the follow-up.
Nice.
Ash, of course, he did a lot of this game. This is looking really good. I hope that they, continue to do well with this series.
We need more good Star Wars content.
Yeah, it looks like we've got multiplayer for this one. Or
really?
At least co-op in some way, shape, or form.
Oh,
I don't know. That's what I'm feeling and seeing.
I mean, I'd be down for that. Holy crap. Finally have a game to force my fiance to play with me. I mean, yeah, that'd be even more incentive for me to finish Fallen Order. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong on that, but I hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that they add multiplayer to this at some point. Because again, it's this is very much following up from the Jedi Academy and Jedi Knight series.
Yeah.
And that multiplayer was so fun in that. Co-op, is something that I think this game could really, 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 really use. And I just really wish, for the love of all that's good, that they can do that. So again, probably just wishful thinking. But yeah, I don't think it's getting multiplayer on release.
Well, hopefully it does well enough so that it can become this huge franchise, and something like that can happen. But it all comes down to whether or not we go to support it. Show EA that single-player games with multiplayer components are still where it's truly at as far as gaming goes. Yeah, very exciting.
I'm pretty sure he teams up with another escape Padawan Jedi.
Yeah.
At some point, that's in around his same age. That's the thing that made me think, multiplayer. That's got me wishing for multiplayer.
Yeah.
So again, it's they're throwing away a good chance by not having the co-op. You don't have to add skins, you don't have to add microtransactions. Just give us some multiplayer to kind of sweeten the deal. Yep. Totally optional. Don't have to do it. Not force into it. Just it's there if you want to. I can't believe how difficult it is for some companies to get this through their head.
Yeah, what don't you understand, Nintendo? Yeah. All right, and then finally, number 10.
Number 10 is Homeworld 3. I really want this game to be good. I really, really want this game to be good. I want it to not be garbage. And I have no idea. I can't make any promises right now, ladies and gentlemen. I really cannot make any promises. It's one of these games that looks great, that, has me crossing my fingers, hoping, praying that this is going to be good. But again, it's the company behind it,
which is
Gearbox.
Oh, so, yeah.
I probably won't be streaming it in any way, shape, or form because we have a current serious issue with them.
What was the last good game that they made that wasn't called Borderlands?
Wait, Borderlands was good?
Well, I mean, actually, I don't know. I never really played Borderlands, but everybody...
I'm joking.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Borderlands. I wish we could cover. I wish we could play it. I wish that they weren't so hostile to content creators. I wish they didn't force content creators off of the internet. I wish they didn't have a person who is so self-absorbed that it's hard to yeah, it's hard to focus on their good games. And again, coming from somebody who defended their head, who defended the certain actions that they took for a long time, who tried to, point, in the direction of saying, hey, look, these guys are good at what they do, this kind of stuff. But yeah, not unfortunately not very helpful. So yeah.
Remember when they were the company that did the Half-Life expansions? Pepperidge Farm remembers. All right. We're getting closer to an hour. Man, we got to speed this up. Even though I don't want to, I'm enjoying the discussion.
Well,
yeah.
Most of the other games are games that we have talked to death about.
Yeah.
So we don't have to introduce them nearly as much.
It's self-evident why we should all be excited for these games. We talk about them virtually every episode of the Maximum News Show. All right. Number 5 on my list should come as no shock to most people. It's Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4, the original, is classic, one of the greatest games ever made. And for a long time, I was really curious as to how they could improve upon it or do something different enough from perfection while also staying close somewhat to that perfection. Well, we saw gameplay from the game, and holy crap, does it look good. Oh man, it looks like it, because even though Resident Evil 4 is a fantastic game, it does stray away from its roots as survival horror darkness, because it focuses more on the action and sort of like the cheesy charm in Resident Evil 4. But now with the remake, it seems like it's taking that action but marrying it with the horror of the original games, plus with the more recent remakes of 2 and 3. And it seems like they're going to nail it if that gameplay is any indication. Is it in your top 5, Sam?
No, it is not.
Okay.
And not because I don't like the series, but mostly because I knew you were going to put it in yours.
Oh, okay, right on. All right, yeah, it's self-evident. Resident Evil 4 should be on most people's list. Okay, my number 4, speaking of games that should have co-op, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is coming out in fall 2023. Syb, Insomniac's first Spider-Man game was so legit, so good. One of the few games that I ever got a platinum for. It's just so addicting, swinging around New York as Spider-Man. I hope that they add co-op so that, a friend of yours can play Miles Morales while you play Peter Parker, and then you just go around kicking ass. That will be so much fun, and I have no doubt, just because I have so much faith in everything that Insomniac does, that this game is going to be dope. And most importantly, Syb, the game is going to have Venom. So,
I would love them to open up more. Like, I really want to play a Spider-Man game that has all the, not all, because there's there's thousands of them, but open up like the top 50 Spider-Mans. Like, that would just be so cool. Like Spider-Man Noir, that would just be amazing.
Kind of like Into the Spider-Verse type of Spider-Man game. Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, didn't they sort of do that recently? Not recently, but wasn't there a game that came out 10 years ago where you could play Spider-Man 2099?
I think so, but I want to see the more updated list. Silk is one of my favorite Spider-Man variants. Silk's pretty cool. A lot of people crap on Gwen, but
she's fine.
She's fine. I like the idea of the Spider Girl, the daughter of Peter Parker, not one of the
not Jessica
replacements.
Drew. Yeah,
but the actual daughter. I think that's cool. Again, these are stories that are really interesting, and if they do it right, if they at least introduce the characters, I often thought that a big part of the problem is that a lot of this stuff gets ham-fisted when you create a giant list and then you just come out with them. You work on them being the coolest versions of themselves, and then you just allow people to just experience the story, experience the characters, learn to like the characters. I think that's the best way that you get variant versions of it. You just create tons of things, and you do a good job with each one of them that you can, and you let people decide what they like and what they don't like. And then that's how you get true, actual, popular options. You don't have to ham fist anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to number 3. This might surprise Sybe. He might have been expecting it to be at my number 1 or number 2, but it's Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah, actually, I'm sure you probably guessed what my number 1 and 2 are after saying that, though, Sybe. But yeah.
My number 3 is also Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, now I know what your top 2 are. Okay, well, yeah, it should be self-evident. I keep using that word a lot, but it is. But yeah, Hogwarts Legacy. We've been talking about how amazing this game looks. Out of all the games where it's like, you could be cynical about whether or not the game is actually going to be as good as they're projecting it to be before it comes out. This game, though, I think we have a reasonable amount of faith to put into it. Everything that you and I have been seeing out of this game looks off the chain. It looks like the game that Harry Potter fans have been waiting their entire lives for, and thankfully we have just over a month to wait, like a month and a half until it comes out, and then our lives are going to be ruined.
Yep, and it's going to be very difficult to work on any other projects for like 3 to 4 weeks. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, this is one of the times in my life where I hate saying this, but it's kind of true. Like, I hate that. I hope it's not that long. I hope it's like a 30 to 40 hour experience at most, because if it's not, then I'm not going to get anything done. It'll be like when Elden Ring came out last year. Well, that was different because I actually had good reason to talk about Elden Ring, because it does coincide with a lot of the stuff that I talk about on my channel. Harry Potter might be a different story, though, or Hogwarts Legacy. Sorry, to be more specific. But man, I cannot wait to fly around Hogwarts on a broom and or hippogriff. Maybe at the same time. That'll be weird, but maybe whatever. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on that before I go to my top 2?
No, other than not really like what you said. Like, this is looking so good, so unbelievably good that if they do this right, this is another game that's a decade game.
Yeah,
we'll be playing it in a decade. Hopefully with a ton of mods and a ton of extra content that's been added over the years.
Oh my god! Yeah, I want an Avada Kedavra mod, just in case my teacher gives me a bad grade. I'm just joking. All right, not really. Moving on to my number 2. We don't have a firm release date for this one or my number 1, but it is projected to come out in 2023. It's Alan Wake 2. Anybody who played the original Alan Wake, it's such a special game. It's so wonderfully unique, wonderful storytelling. Of course, it comes from Sam Lake. He did Max Payne, Quantum Break, and most recently Control, which I believe is their magnum opus. Hopefully, Alan Wake 2 will be able to expand upon this crazy universe that Sam Lake appears to be setting up, and apparently they're going to be doing it in really, really interesting ways. It's going to be more of a survival horror game this time around, more than a psychological thriller, which I'm all about. And hopefully, if things keep going in the same direction that they seem to be, there'll be inevitably a crossover not only with the Control universe, well, we know that's happening if the Control DLC is anything to go by, but hopefully we'll be able to see Max Payne again. They will cross over. How awesome would that be? Hopefully it comes out sometime before the end of the year. Anywhere on your list, Sybe?
No.
Really?
Because I think I was confusing Alan Wake with that other game where you play where the boy gets kidnapped, the son gets kidnapped or something like that.
The son gets kidnapped. Oh, Heavy Rain?
Heavy Rain, yeah.
How did really? Why?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's probably the protagonist. They look too similar.
Yeah. Sean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like my favorite part and also it's like Heavy Rain is it's more prevalent in my mind because it's got one of the funniest scenes in gaming ever. It's like the wife comes in, she's holding the 2 bags of groceries, and she's like, "Can you help me with the groceries?" And you're supposed to walk over to her and press the A or square, whatever button, and you can choose to just walk up to her then turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
And it's just such a funny scene in my head. But okay, yeah. I definitely had those two confused. So this is okay. So I'll be keeping my eye on this, but I don't think I'll be playing it like early on.
Do you recall if you played the original Alan Wake?
Probably. I do remember like dark woods and machinery and a flashlight that was just a real pain in the butt to see things with.
Yes, then yes.
I do hate games that are like that. It's like it's not because I don't think it's a good choice stylistically. It's that I literally have a hard time like seeing shit, and that's annoying.
Yeah, I sympathize. I have to crank up the brightness sometimes too. And then I don't know. Like, should we save our number ones for like when we both talk about it? Because I get the feeling that our number one is the exact same.
I doubt it.
You doubt it? Okay. All right. That tells me all I need to know. All right, let's go. Well, then that's fine. I'll just say what my number one is. Number one's Starfield, which I won't say anything. It's a Bethesda RPG, and people like to just ignore anything like try to downplay anything good about Bethesda because Fallout 76 was such a disaster, and it objectively was. But remember, this is the same studio that gave us Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout 3 and 4, which, maybe you prefer Fallout 1 and 2, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to say that Fallout 3 and 4 on their own are at least good games, even if you don't think they're great Fallout games. Starfield, everything that I've seen from it, for the most part, just blows me away. There are one or two things that I have some qualms about, like the performance at like whether or not they'll be able to get the game above 30 FPS. That's a genuine concern for me. But what they're promising, it seems to be like the next evolution in that type of gameplay formula, and I'm a sucker for it. Let's go. I cannot wait for Starfield, and hopefully it comes out in the first half of 2023 like Mr. Howard says. Do you want to talk about it right now, Cyber, or should we just talk about it when we inevitably get to it on your list?
Sure. Let's talk about it now because it's not my number one; it's my number two.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to point out that on Steam alone, there's about 100,000 people who play Skyrim and Fallout related, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim Special Edition, Skyrim Super Edition, Skyrim Fridge Edition. Can't forget the Skyrim Toaster Edition and the Skyrim iWatch Edition. There's about, I'm being facetious on some of those, obviously, but there's about 100,000 people that play those games currently today.
And there's a reason.
Regularly. And that's not even the full list because that's just Steam. We don't know how many people are still playing Skyrim on the consoles. So really, I would like to point out that Bethesda doesn't, like, they have messed up and they have apologized for that numerous times. More than, I would say more than what most people seem to remember. And more than certainly what would be legally what the lawyers are probably screaming for them to stop talking and stop apologizing for it, because that's just the way that the legal system works in the States. It's messy, it's dirty. As soon as you get big enough, you get slammed constantly with frivolous lawsuits, and most of them you just pay them to go away, and that sucks. That's kind of crappy. So this is something that obviously I'm cognizant of. I understand people are angry, but I also want you to remember that 100,000 people play these games constantly because they're still so good. And I believe Starfield is going to be good. I do not want to encourage you to become hyped for it, or to go out and pre-order it, or do anything of the such. They deserve their skepticism for what they did with 76. They deserve the frustration for all the bugs and all the stuff, and not taking that stuff as seriously as they should have. But that said, this is going to be probably one of the best games of the year, and it's probably going to push technology for gaming in directions that most people have not thought possible. And again, that's taking their word for it. So let's hope that's the case, and not that let's hope that they're not screwing that up. But I am very positive that this is definitely going to be close to Game of the Year. If not, if they manage to pull off the things that we think they've managed to pull off, then it's not just Game of the Year, it's a trendsetter and a gigantic technical beast of amazing awesomeness that we had no idea was possible. So,
maybe not in terms of graphics, but everything else you said, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So that's my top 10 list, ladies and gentlemen. We are going over an hour, but it's a special, so I don't feel pressured to speed through it. Yeah. What is your top 5?
A couple of them are going to be kind of quick here. So my number 5 is called Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader.
Yeah.
And it is a turn-based tactical game that is got all the cool stuff from the Warhammer universe. It's interesting. I'm liking the looks of it. I hope that they allow modding. I hope that they allow a whole bunch of other stuff, because I think the Warhammer community is so big, so awesome, and
it's only going to get bigger
so seriously that I think they would just make this absolutely 100 times more awesome than it currently is. So I'm really excited for this. I really do think that this is going to be one of the best games as far as within the year, as far as like tactical shooters go. Really excited for it. My number 4 is also a tactical shooter, and I probably should have put these in reverse order, but it's called Cyber Knights Flashpoint. Again, another tactical shooter that looks just really, really good for not tactical shooter, tactical strategy turn-based shooter. So obviously, like, you're controlling characters with guns and stuff, because it's a cyberpunk universe, and I still love my cyberpunk universes, and this is looking really, really good.
And
really, really interesting.
Like so many of the other games coming out in the first quarter of 2023. Supposedly.
Yeah, so we'll see with that one. Obviously, it looks really good. It looks really sharp. I am excited for it. Hopefully that it does not let us down. There's those ones. Then of course Hogwarts Legacy at number 3. Number 2 is Starfield, and it's tight. Like, it really is tight. I'm very excited for it. I think the space combat I'm going to fall in love with, because it's super reminiscent of this mech warrior style of combat, where you control slow things that have big guns, and you taking shots calculatedly and strategically. It's not just hold down the trigger and fly at super speed, and you just like flying at a ridiculous speed, and you're just holding down the trigger. It's like every trigger pull is calculated and planned, and I honestly, man, I just love that so much. I love just having these big hulking machines doing big battle stuff, and it looks really good. It looks really tight. I hope they haven't changed it. It to me, I immediately fell in love with it.
You think it's going to be like that and not like No Man's Sky? Because it did look No Man's Sky-esque, the space combat. Okay.
No, so No Man's Sky looked far more
arcadey,
space fighter.
Yeah,
like fighter, as in like a fighter aircraft.
Yeah.
Whereas these are more bulky ships. They're not a single pilot small flight thing that you hop into the cockpit. The cockpit holds you, and that's about it. And you fly around and you shoot stuff, right? Like, it's like that is the X-wing versus the Firefly combat,
right?
Where the Firefly ship, it's you've got a crew in your ship. It's not a crew of 1,000 people. We're not talking about Star Trek. We're talking about crew inside a small ship. You got you got an engineer. You've got somebody running around trying to put out fires. You got maybe a couple other people manning guns and stuff like that. But you're big, you're hulking, you're taking like calculated shots, that kind of stuff. I know they had those kinds of ships in No Man's Sky too, but I always felt that No Man's Sky was far more of a fighter sim than it was a battle platform sim. And I say battle platform kind of loosely. Obviously, it's not like it's not a gigantic star, star destroyer or cruiser or anything like that, but it's smaller. And I like that concept is like, it's good. I like it. I love the hell out of it. And yeah, just overall, it's going to feel, I think it's going to be good. I think it's really honestly going to be good. It might even win Game of the Year, and I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
So my number one is Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I figured. It was either that or Starfield.
Yeah, and the reason why it outpaces Starfield is because it is the best kind of multiplayer ever. Not ever in the sense of like all time, but ever in the sense of like, this is what I want so badly, to be able to play with friends a turn-based tactical combat thing where choices matter, and you have the initial campaign, but what's really going to make this game amazing and probably be one of my all-time favorite games, if not the all-time favorite game, is the amount of campaigns that you can do, and then the way that you can take the campaigns. You can set up a campaign in the sense of like, you as the game master could set up a whole map, fill it with enemies, fill it with scenarios, fill it with stories, interactions, that kind of stuff, and then you can play it with your friends. Or you can play as the game master, the dungeon master, creating the narrative on the fly, taking direct control over characters and actually typing out their responses so you can role play live with somebody, with a team of friends. And if you've been watching Critical Role, if you've been watching any of the large number of YouTube channels that have come up recently with amazing D&D humor-based content, this is so exciting. This is so unique. This is such a community-driven experience that has so much potential to just really be awesome. I can't wait to play a version of D&D with my kids in the future. I read this one story, heard it on a channel, they talked about it. It's real quick, it's real short.
Oh, yeah.
The dad took his two daughters, they wanted to play D&D with him, so he created a scenario in which they were supposed to fight a bunch of wolves endangering a little town.
Mm-hmm.
What his girls actually did was decided that they didn't want to kill the wolves because they're just dogs and puppies, and so they went out, got a whole bunch of food, and then tamed all the wolves.
Aww.
And they became in charge of this little wolf army. And then they took it around and fought like trolls and monsters in the area with this giant army of wolves.
They Princess Mononoke that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of story that is always going to be so cool, is always going to be so special. And the amount of mods, the mods for this game already are quite numerous. I checked last week and there was 4 mods that came out last week. Game's not even in full production yet, and we already have a weekly deluge of good, solid mods every week, just more and more hitting it. And that's going to key this up, I think, to be one of the best games ever because of the freedom that you can do. You can sit down with your buddies, you can play a campaign that somebody else made, that they made, that you made, and you get to experience that with your friends. Try different combinations. At some point, they'll have basically every class combination that you can get on the official game. Then when you look over at the modded section, you can mod in as many homebrew rules as you and the community can think of, which I guarantee you is going to be almost limitless content.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it a little bit better than Starfield, is that you get to play this with friends and you get to play this like almost like nonstop. Almost to the point where you might get sick of it, but you're never going to get sick of the people that you're playing it with. Well, maybe you'll get sick of the people you're playing with. But in either way, either option, you are going to be having more fun, and you're going to have the ability to like choose anywhere to go with it. I think this is honestly one of these games where it's like Skyrim's on one of my like all-time games of all time because of the amount of customization that you can do. With mods, you don't have to start the Dragonborn story. You can literally run an inn.
Yep.
And that's cool. And you're going to have the same thing here with this one. You're going to be able to set up and do so much. And at some point, I do believe at some point, I've been talking with some people. We've been spitting ideas back and forth. There's a couple people who think they're going to be able to set up permanent servers. So permanent live living world servers in which there's an actual running clock, and your players can play through the night, they can play through the day, they can go to sleep, and real world events are changing around them. It's probably a long way off. This is not something that I expect that you will get as a mod in the first year. It's probably post most major content releases as far as like expansions and stuff goes. But imagine that you're able to set up a D&D world with enormous maps that have a living world in it that you can pop in with your friends and play together. Like that's cool. Again, so many options, so much potential. And the modders will be the ones who make this live or die, basically. Because like obviously the game is going to be good on release. Obviously it's going to be a good experience from the get-go, but whether or not it's going to be the absolute best, I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, that's my top game. I'm super excited for it. I think all of these games like Starfield, Hogwarts, Baldur's Gate, I think all of these are like games that will probably be on our systems in 5 years still. Yeah.
I mean, if Starfield is like Skyrim level of quality, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And Alan Wake, I've been playing Control and Max Payne and all those games ever since they came out every single year. I love them to death. 2023 is looking to be very special. And by the way, before we conclude, I forgot to mention one game. I'm hoping it comes out in 2023, but given the weird development of this game, it's hard to be sure, is Hellblade 2. That if I knew for certain that game was coming out in 2023, it would definitely be in my top 5. I might have to bump out Resident Evil 4 Remake to make room for that, because the first Hellblade, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated game of the last 6 or 7 years. I might be missing 1 or 2, but it is that good. And I'm hoping, just with the standard that game set, Ninja Theory is able to continue it, but we just don't know when it's coming out yet. All right, guys. That does it for this special edition of Maximum News, our top 10 most anticipated games for 2023. Please let us know what you thought of our lists in the comment section below. Did we miss any particular game? Is there a game that you think is on our list that shouldn't be on there, or vice versa? A game that we missed? Please just let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear your opinions. Make sure you hit that like button if you liked this video. It not only helps out this video, but all the other videos on this channel. Putting it into people's recommended feeds expands the channel, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. I want to thank Syb, as always, for doing this show with me every week for the past year, and maybe more than that. We've been doing it for a while. Thank you for all the insight you bring to the show. Syb, do you want to just tell people about the main channel real quick?
Yeah, check out the main channel. We're doing live streams again there, and we're going to be doing a lot of game streams this year. It's something that we've been hoping and planning for extensively, and hopefully we can make them go off without a hitch. Ash did a hilarious stream where he did a challenge in the Choo Choo Nightmare Train game where the Thomas the Tank type train is chasing after you on spider legs all around the map. It was hilarious. It's really cool. So yeah, check that out. We've got more stuff there. And again, as always, tons of guides, tons of gamer information. And hopefully we're going to have a really busy, really amazing year this year. And we always love it and appreciate it when you guys come by and support us in any way you find within it yourself to do so.
Absolutely. And you guys could just find me on my channel at Max Derrat. I'll put a link to that and the main Triple S Sleep channel in the description box. Thanks, guys, for a lovely 2022. And we will definitely be seeing you throughout the next year with all the wonderful gaming news coverage. Until then, I want to remind you guys, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.